The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. China threatens to retaliate if U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy meets with Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen during her trip to the United States. China left Taiwan for a 10-day tour of Central America, with at least 2 stopovers planned in the U.S. Tsai is going to Guatemala and Belize, transiting through New York first and Los Angeles on the way back. But China's Taiwan Affairs Office believes that Tsai's transits are being used as a pretext for her to meet U.S. officials and lawmakers. Zhu Fenglian, spokesperson of China's Taiwan Affairs Office, warns that if she contacts U.S. Speaker McCarthy, it will be considered a provocation. Zhu adds that Beijing is not afraid to fight back.
必将采取措施坚决回击。我们敦促美方严格的恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，不安排蔡英文过境美国，甚至与美官方接触，以实际行动兑现不支持台独的严肃承诺。
Before leaving for the U.S., Tsai noted that external pressure will not stop Taiwan from engaging with the world. China, which claims democratically ruled Taiwan as its own territory, has repeatedly warned U.S. officials not to meet Tsai, as they view this as a support for the island's desire to be seen as a separate country.
台湾走向世界的决心只会越来越坚定。台湾是世界的台湾，带领台湾走向世界，也让世界走进台湾，是我们执政的重要目标。台湾会坚定地走在自由民主的道路上，走向世界。 这条路虽然崎岖，但台湾并不孤单。
Tennessee residents gathered for an evening prayer vigil following the shooting incident at a Christian grade school in Nashville. Several people, including members of church organizations, attended the prayer vigil in Mount Juliet. The suspect, identified as Aubrey Hale, killed at least 3 children and 3 adults at the Covenant School in Nashville City. The motive remains unclear, but police earlier revealed that the shooter had an emotional disorder.
Come before you, we are bewildered. We are in shock and confusion. But Father, we come before you in our grief and our despair and our sense of helplessness in the face of violence.
I think that's what it boils down to. I think life is not valued in so many ways, and so people resort to things like this because they don't value other people's life and they don't even value their own life. And so I think that people have got to come together to fight against this tragedy.
With the recent shooting, House Democrats spoke at the steps of the Capitol on Wednesday, urging action on gun legislation. Let's listen in.
Thank you, Representative McBath. We gather here today on the steps of the Capitol. Here in America, there is no excuse to allow our streets to be flooded with weapons of war that are not being used to hunt deer. They're being used to hunt human beings and to slaughter children. And so we're demanding that Congress act. Because the level of gun violence in this country is unacceptable, it's unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon, everyone. On August 3rd, it is our obligation to fix it. House Democrats have acted over and over and over again to pass legislation to fix this. If not now, when? And to my Republican colleagues who refuse to act, if you don't want to get to work, get out of the way so that the rest of us can. Enough is enough, and we are calling on our colleagues to bring those bills to the floor now and to provide safety and relief to Americans who are demanding it.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on the One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Diego Castro. The U.S. Congress backs a legislation to repeal 2 decades authorizations for past wars in Iraq. The Democrat-led Senate voted 66 to 30 in favor of legislation to repeal the 1991 and 2022 authorizations for the use of military force. This would pass the measure that would formally end the Gulf and Iraq wars. This comes as the U.S. Congress pushes to reassert its role in deciding whether to send troops into combat, 20 years after Washington invaded Iraq and toppled Saddam Hussein. President Joe Biden said he would sign the measure if it reaches his desk. The United Nations General Assembly votes to pass a resolution asking the International Court of Justice to define nations' legal obligations to combat climate change. The measure asks the world's top court to outline countries' obligations in protecting climate and legal consequences they face if they don't. Countries will submit input over the next year. It could take the court 18 months to issue an advisory opinion that could clarify financial obligations countries have on climate change. The court's advisory would also help nations revise and enhance national climate plans submitted to the Paris Agreement, as well as strengthen domestic policies and legislation. Before we go, it's no secret that Filipinos tend to use Apple products more than other tech companies. In fact, Filipinos would even spend hours in line just to snatch the latest iPhone model. Well, just recently in the US, Apple launched its Buy Now, Pay Later service. The service will allow users to split purchases into 4 payments, spread over 6 weeks with no interest or fees. Users can apply for loans between $50 and $1,000, which could be used for online and in-app purchases made on iPhone and iPad with merchants that accept Apple Pay. Many Filipinos will also be hoping that this offer will be available in the country. A good deal for those dreaming to buy Apple products. And those are the top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. Coming right up is Agenda at 8 a.m. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides all the time.